What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another Euro 2024 fantasy video. In this one, it's my team selection for Matchday 3, and I do have the Limitless chip active, so I'm going to run you through how the current draft is looking. I did want to say, though, before we jump into it, I am recording this before any of the Matchday 2 games have been played, so I'm not aware of how many points teams have got from the first two matches, but I have talked about that and what it might mean for rotation as I've gone through the video. Either way, this would have had to have been recorded and put out before the end of the second round of games, but usually I like to record the same morning that the video goes out, just in case there's injuries or big things that happen in the games the day before. But in this case, I'm recording it on Wednesday morning, which is the first day of match day 2, but it's not going to go out until Thursday, and I won't have seen any of the games. So if there's injuries and stuff like that, I can only apologise. This is the only time during the tournament this is going to happen. There was no way around it, and I still wanted to put a video out. Plus, I still think the draft looks pretty good, and I've explained my choices and stuff like that. So hopefully you enjoy it. If you do, give it a like, hit that subscribe button. Let's get into it. So let's start as normal with the defensive players. I am on the Limitless chip for match day 3, so my budget is unlimited. I'm not worried about the price of any player. I just want the best options with the best fixtures. But more importantly, I'm trying to pick 15 players that are actually going to start. Because if any nations are going to rotate, it's always in match day 3. I had a look back at certain nations in previous tournaments, and it tends to be for the top ones like Spain, France, England, etc. If they get 4 points from the first two games, they tend to rotate a couple of positions. And obviously, it's impossible to know exactly what all those managers are going to do this time around, but that seems to be the theme. And if they've got 6 points from the first two games, then it's kind of mass rotation. So when you're picking your match day 3 squad, obviously the results in match day 2 and obviously the ones from match day 1 as well are going to be super important. I don't have that information right now, but I'm still going to talk through the players and teams that I'm looking to target. So Spain versus Albania is definitely one of those matches. That is Spain's easiest game in the group. If they go and beat Italy in match day 2, then there will be a lot of rotation. I'm even wondering if the goalkeeper might rotate as well. So Unai Simon is number 1. Presumably David Raya is number 2. So he might be an option to bring in instead, because however much Spain rotate, they'll be favourites for that game, and a clean sheet looks pretty likely. So I'm almost certainly going to try and double up on the Spanish defence in match day 3. And usually you'd think, well, just go for the centre-backs, right? Because they're the safest options. They usually always play. But I went back and looked. Even centre-backs sometimes get rotated. So Unai Simon is in this draft, but it could be David Raya if we get any indication that he's going to start instead. And I'm hoping, if Spain have got 4 or 6 points from the first two games, that they'll rotate at left back as well and put Grimaldo in. So we saw Cucurella start the first game against Croatia. He seems to be first choice left back for Spain. But Grimaldo is certainly going to get some minutes at some point. And match day 3 is probably the perfect time. We've seen how attacking he can be for Bayer Leverkusen. Yes, he plays further forward in that team, not as a left back, but he's still going to have some license to get forward. So Unai Simon and Grimaldo are in this draft. It could be Grimaldo and David Raya instead. It might even be, if Italy win against Spain, so let's say Spain lose match day 2 and they don't rotate, then I'll just put Simon and Carvajal in instead, knowing that those two will both start. I've also gone for DeMarco because he was so attacking in that first game against Albania. Croatia's going to be a bit more difficult, but it's not going to be... It's not a game that I'm particularly worried about having a defender in. Like, Croatia might score, absolutely. And, I haven't seen Italy be tested yet. The Spain game will be a tougher test for sure than Albania was. But he's playing as a left winger. I feel like he's got to be in. And my hope, well, not hope, but my thoughts would be that Italy probably won't get 3 points against Spain. So there won't be as much rotation. And then DeMarco will start in match day 3. And I think whatever price he is, he's just the best option in that defence. I know Di Lorenzo is a bit more expensive, but I don't think he's a more attacking option from what we've seen so far. So he's in. Denmark only got 1 point from the first game, and I'm very hopeful that Denmark haven't gone and got 3 points against England. So there's not going to be a huge amount of rotation in the last game against Serbia. For most teams, right, because there's 4 third-place finishers that go through, 4 points is almost certainly going to be enough, but 3 points might be as well, depending on how results go in other groups. And it might be that teams need goals. So I've gone for Bar as an attacking wing-back, but it might be if Denmark need to win the game but also get a few goals, that they play Joachim Mæhle on the left as well. And if there's any indication that Yoki Main is going to start, I would definitely go for him instead. But Barr has started the last 2 friendlies before the tournament and match day 1, so I would say he's pretty nailed. And even though he's quite cheap and I don't need to worry about prices, it's all about just getting the best option. So if he's going to start, he was fairly attacking in that first game. And Serbia's not going to be easy for Denmark, but they will get chances going forward. So he is in as well. For Netherlands, they lost the first game. They won the first game in match day 1. I'm expecting them not to get a win in match day 2 against France. So I've gone for Dumfries as the first choice right back. Ake was the one that got the assists in the first game, but I'm still going to trust Dumfries. Any indication that Frimpong is going to start in match day 3, and I would definitely go for him instead. But as it stands with the information we've got at the moment, I think it's got to be Dumfries. The fact that he started that first game shows that he is first choice under Koeman in that right back spot, and I'm hoping he'll get forward, get chances for assists, goals and stuff like that in that game against Austria. And Austria is not going to be easy, by the way. It could be that Netherlands are going into that final game with 3 points if they lose to France, and then they've got to get something from the Austria game. It's not going to be easy. Austria are very good against France, but I would still back someone like Dumfries, who we've seen in the past can be very attacking. And then I've got, I'll quickly mention my other goalkeeper. I've gone for Pickford because I think however many points England are on, Southgate won't rotate the goalkeeper position. I think Pickford pretty much always plays, and you want some consistency in your lineup, even if you are going to rotate a few players. So even if I get the Spain keeper wrong, or they concede to Albania, Pickford against Slovenia looks pretty good. So that's my backup goalkeeper. And I always want to have 3 England players in my team if I can, and Pickford makes that a bit easier. And then for my final defender, I've gone for Saliba because, again, France's easiest game in the group is Poland in match day 3. Now, they may well be going into that game with 6 points, and then rotation's going to be difficult to work out. Like Theo Hernandez, for example, at left back, I would absolutely expect him to be rotated if they get 6 points, but I'm not sure who's going to play left back instead of him. Like Camavinga did it before in a previous tournament where they rotated, but Ferland Mendy is also in the squad as well. So will he get a run out? I think it's quite hard to say right now. So I'm hoping that one of the centre-backs will be consistent the whole way through and play no matter how many points they're on. And I'm going to back Saliba. It's not the most exciting pick, I've got to be honest, because Grimaldo, DeMarco, Barr and Dumfries are all capable of attacking returns. And Saliba could get something from a set piece, but from open play, it's not likely to happen. But I just think because of the fixture, I kind of want to just go for him. And I want someone from the French team. If they lose to the Netherlands in match day 2, I'll absolutely go for Theo Hernandez instead. And if they get 4 points from the first 2 games, I may risk him. But I think Saliba's probably a slightly safer option. Just having a quick look at the other matches in match day 3 where there might be attacking defenders. I mean, Germany potentially, but I'm expecting them to win their first 2 games and rotate. So I don't necessarily want to have to try and guess who might come in. Hungary possibly against Scotland, but I think that could be not necessarily a high-scoring game, but I think both teams will score. I've already spoken about Spain and Italy. I've got Dumfries and France, Barr. I mean, England, possibly, but I'm not sure. Like, unless Luke Shaw gets minutes in the second game against Denmark and then looks likely to start in match day 3 against Slovenia, there's not really a huge amount of attacking English defenders that would even come off the bench, right? The backup to Kyle Walker is probably Konza or Trent. But I don't think Trent right now I could say is a guaranteed starter in match day 3. So I'd probably just ignore England defenders completely. Possibly Belgium, but Ukraine is their toughest game of the group. They've obviously lost the first one. Either way, Belgium are going to need a result in that last match. So Castagna could come in, potentially, instead of Saliba. Might be a little bit more attacking, but I don't know, not really someone I'm worried about. The one team I really want a defender from is Portugal, because they've got Georgia, probably the easiest game of their group. And when I was putting the graphics together for this video, I basically had, instead of DeMarco, I had Mendes / Dalot. And my idea was, whichever 2 fullbacks lined up last night in a back 4, so Cancelo plus one of the others, I was going to put the other one in this draft because I would presume that they would come in as part of the rotation in match day 3. Unfortunately for me, Martinez lines up all of them, right? Dalot plays right wing back, Cancelo's left wing back. He was coming inside as well, but on paper that's where he was in the team or in the 11. And then Mendes was left centre back. So is that back 5 going to stick? I don't know. And if they do rotate in match day 3, if they get another win in match day 2, which of those fullbacks is going to start? It's quite hard to know. So if Portugal lose in match day 2, I'll just go for Cancelo for match day 3. But if they win or even get a draw, there's going to be some rotation, I would expect. And so I'll probably just have to dodge them. But that is the one, out of all the other matches I've not got a defender from, I think Portugal is the one where I'd really want one against Georgia. But it's difficult to know who. And if I was going to swap someone, just hit my desk. If I was going to swap someone right now as it stands, before seeing any of the match day 2 games, it'd probably be DiMarco or Saliba. I think DiMarco more because I think France got a really good chance of a clean sheet against Poland. But DiMarco's so much more attacking. But either way, I really want a Portugal defender. They may well find themselves getting a spot in this team by the time we get to match day 3 deadline. So moving on to the midfield, I've put Sané in the team because I think if Germany are going to rotate in attack, he's going to be one of the key players that comes in. He's someone that we're going to see quite regularly off the bench. So if Nagelsmann does want to rest anyone in match day 3, Sané will play in their place. So I'm pretty sure he is going to start. So he's in. The beauty is, and Sané is actually my only Germany player in this draft at the moment. The beauty is that Germany versus Switzerland and Hungary versus Scotland both kick off at 8 o'clock on Sunday. So we will know the team sheets for all 4 of those teams before the deadline. So it's most likely that I will end up with 3 Germany players, even though I've only got 1 in the draft right now. And Sané's probably one of the top ones that I would want to put in. I will probably go for whichever goalkeeper they play as well. So Neuer or Ter Stegen could come in instead of Simon possibly, or maybe just one of their defenders instead. But I think 2 or 3 Germany players is probably where I will land, even though Switzerland is the toughest game of their group, just because they're such a strong team and we will know the lineup. Whereas for a lot of the other sides, there will be a little bit of guesswork involved. But Sané, if he starts, is definitely someone I want. Hungary are going to need a result on the final day, whatever happens in match day 2. Scotland is the easiest game of the group for them. So Szoboszlai is in. And actually, it's probably going to wait. I haven't made my transfers at the time recording this for match day 2. But I suspect Szoboszlai is probably going to stay in the team. So he's going to be in every... I'm going to own him for the whole group stage, even though I think with hindsight that maybe wasn't the best decision. But against Scotland, they're going to need a result. They're going to need goals. He will be involved. And obviously we know how good he could be based on the fact he's on all set pieces, penalties. He'll play 90 minutes and all that good stuff. So Szoboszlai will probably make it. Plus I'll know that he's definitely starting. So that's kind of nice. The next midfield spot, I've put in Baumgartner against Netherlands. I am aware that I've got Dumfries, but part of that is for attacking potential as well. I just think Austria are going to give them a game, and Baumgartner should start. I don't really have any concerns over his minutes like I would do with maybe like a Xavi Simons from Netherlands. So Baumgartner or Sabitzer could be in. The other team that I don't have an attacker from, that I'm very keen to have one, is Spain against Albania. And so I'm going to have to wait and see what happens in match day 2. If they get a decent result against Italy, and I think they're going to rotate, someone like Olmo could come in instead as a midfielder. I think he's listed as a midfielder. I better just double check that before I say that, because I don't want to look any more stupid than I usually do. Yeah, Olmo is a 7.5. The money doesn't matter. He's a midfielder. Ferran Torres is also someone I really like, but he's listed as a forward. So it's a little bit harder to justify him. But I do want a Spanish attacker. So out of all the midfielders I've picked, Baumgartner could be Sabitzer or possibly a Spanish midfielder instead. That's probably the position I'm least sure about. I think a German midfielder will definitely be in. I really like Szoboszlai. I've got Kevin De Bruyne on the bench. Belgium will need a result in that final game. Yes, Ukraine is the toughest game of the group. Belgium were not fantastic in their first game against Slovakia. That being said, I also don't think they were terrible. And on another day, they would have got a result. And they will be stronger than Ukraine, I think. I think ultimately they will get through. They'll need a result on the final day. I kind of want at least 2 Belgian players. So De Bruyne is on the bench. And then my final midfield spot is Anthony Gordon. So again, I had a look at what Southgate's done over the last couple of tournaments. And when he only had 4 points, he rotated 2 positions. That was the right and left wing positions. Now, if they beat Denmark and get 6 points, there might be way more rotation there. Even Harry Kane could miss out. But I think Anthony Gordon, if I had to guess right now before seeing any matches for match day 2, I think he'll be the one I'm most confident will start. Because Harry Kane could still start in the number 9. Bellingham could still start number 10. And on the right-hand side, Saka will probably get a rest because I don't think he's fully fit at the moment. But it could be for Bowen, it could be for Palmer, and I don't want to have to guess that. Whereas I'm almost certain Gordon is first choice left wing backup to Foden. So if Foden doesn't play, I am almost certain it will be Gordon and not someone like Eze. Whereas on the right, I previously thought before the tournament started that if Saka missed out, it would be Palmer. But Bowen was the one that subbed on for him against Serbia. Now, that was probably tactical. And I do think from the start, when you want a bit more control, Palmer is probably better than Bowen. But I don't want to have to guess that. It might be that England have got 6 points and everyone gets rotated. Palmer plays 10, Watkins plays up front. I just think right now, Gordon is the one I can be most sure about. And that's why he's in the draft. So these are the 3 forwards that I've gone for at the moment. It's Ollie Watkins for England against Slovenia, Diogo Jota for Portugal against Georgia, and then Romelu Lukaku for Belgium against Ukraine. Now, Lukaku, like De Bruyne, I know is almost certainly going to start in Matchday 3 because Belgium are going to need something from that game. Even if they win Matchday 2, they're going to still need at least a draw from the game against Ukraine. So Lukaku will almost certainly start. His record is incredible. The first game against Slovakia doesn't put me off. He's still got chances. Was probably a little bit unlucky to not get something from that game. And I think despite Ukraine being the strongest team outside of Belgium for that group, or at least going into the tournament, that's what we thought, Lukaku will get chances. So he's almost certainly going to make it. I think having those players you know are going to start that also have good records is kind of handy. Let me start with Watkins. That's basically going to be Kane or Watkins based on what happens against Denmark. If England draw against Denmark, I'll probably just go Kane because I don't think he'll get rotated. He might get subbed off early against Slovenia if we're winning because I think he came off in the 57th minute in either the World Cup 2022 third game or in 2020. I can't quite remember. But either way, if we draw with Denmark or lose, then it will definitely be Harry Kane instead. But if we beat Denmark and we've got 6 points, then I think Ollie Watkins will get a chance in that third group game. So either way, it's probably going to be an England striker. I just need to decide between the two. With Diogo Jota, that's all about trying to pre-think, I guess, or guess the rotation that's going to happen against Georgia. Last night, when Czech Republic were winning against Portugal, I was thinking, well, I'll just put Ronaldo in this draft. But now they've got the win, and I'm expecting them to beat Turkey as well. There will be rotation. We saw the front three for Portugal was Leao, Ronaldo, and Bernardo Silva. I would expect that to continue going into Matchday 2. But I also think if they're going to rotate, Jota is probably one of the first attackers that's going to come in. And I think he's just class, right? We've seen it plenty of times before in the Premier League. And if he's going to start against Georgia, he's going to get chances. So again, a lot will come down to what happens in Matchday 2. For example, if Turkey beat Portugal and they need a result from the last game, then I'll probably just go for Ronaldo instead and play it safe. But I think Jota could do quite nicely if he gets that start against Georgia. I mean, preferably you want forwards that are actually forwards. But I think in Jota's case, the way he plays, it's not going to matter if he lines up on the left. You know, he's still going to get plenty of chances. We've seen that many, many times before. There are other forwards that you could almost guarantee are going to start. For example, right, let me just go to Matchday 3 for a second. Denmark playing Serbia. Vlahovic for Serbia. Højlund for Denmark. Both options could go there. I think with Germany, if Havertz isn't going to start, it's definitely going to be Füllkrug. He will be super tempting. Okay, I may well end up with him. Right, if I'm thinking about Germany, the fact I'm going to get the team sheet and I'm looking back at this draft, I think Lukaku will definitely be in. I'll definitely want an England striker. Again, that's a little bit of bias. I'm very open about that. So those two spots are kind of done. It's whether or not I want to take Jota out. And I just think if I see the Germany lineup and it's got Füllkrug in it, I'll probably just put him in instead of Jota to just not have to guess that rotation. The less I have to try and work out, the better, right? If there's teams that are strong with a good fixture and need a result, I'm more likely to go for players from those teams. But ultimately, teams are only going to rotate unless there's an injury or a knock or something like that in Matchday 3. The teams we see for Matchdays 1 and 2 will almost certainly be almost the same teams for the round of 16, quarterfinal, semi-final, etc. So for me, in these tournaments where I just find it, where I want to have like a bit more fun than maybe the safe, solid picks that I make in FPL, this is the time where I'm going to get to put different players in my team that I'm probably not going to get to do for the rest of the tournament. So Füllkrug, Sané, and then maybe a different Germany defender or goalkeeper. Definitely want to do that. Grimaldo for Spain, if he's going to get rotated in, nice. If England are going to rotate like Gordon and Watkins, they probably won't get another start in this tournament. So they're the kind of players I want to put in. I'm still more than happy to go for like a Pickford, De Bruyne, Lukaku, right? I'm still happy to have those solid picks like Szoboszlai, but where possible, I want to go for players that I don't think I'm going to own again in this tournament. So that's the draft. Again, apologies that this was put together before any of the Matchday 2 games have been played. The video is not going to go out until 8 o'clock in the morning UK time on the 20th, so on Thursday. But by that point, you will have seen Croatia versus Albania, Germany versus Hungary, and Scotland versus Switzerland, which I haven't seen at the time recording. But I don't think it's completely... hopefully this wasn't a completely useless video, right? We're still working out which teams to target and stuff like that. And I think that's a pretty solid draft, having not seen any of the second round games. So if you have enjoyed it and you've stuck with me until this point, thank you very much. Give it a like, hit that subscribe button. This will be the only video for Matchday 3 because ultimately I can't do a final thoughts video without having seen any of the matches for Matchday 2. But from the knockout rounds onwards, we'll have the usual content. I absolutely promise that. So thank you very much. Enjoy the Matchday 2 games. Enjoy Matchday 3. And I'll catch you again for the knockouts.